Bergschrund Project, music and storytelling that brings the spirit of climbing to honor the past.
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Cool. All right. So I kind of wanted to start it off to get a raise of hands of people in the room that climb. Shit. Let me take that back, because I actually don't give a shit if you rock climb at all. So let me see a raise of hands, people in the room who have found something in their life that has completely consumed them. Like they whether it's like collecting baseball cards as like a middle school kid, or like, but it's all you could like think about. It's like all you wanted to spend your free time on. Cool. That's good. That's way better. Because rock climbing is only one of those specific types of things. And for me, at one point in time in my life, rock climbing totally was that. It was something that I was completely consumed by. I actually bought the Yosemite Valley Rock Climbing Select guidebook, and I literally, in all of my free time, read it cover to cover multiple times over the course of a winter. Even when I was like taking a shit, I was like reading the Yosemite Valley guidebook, right? So, so Alex kind of asked me to talk about my introduction into climbing. So I figured I could do that, even though I think that what climbing can mean to somebody. There's lots of other things that can fulfill that thing, right? So I had a guy that I knew in architecture school who was a rock climber. And the reason why I knew he was a rock climber was because he told me. And he fucking told everybody that he was a rock climber. And I was like, that sounds super cool. Like I moved to Montana, rock climbing seemed like something that would be a cool thing to like engage with. So this guy offered me, he probably offered everybody, but he offered me to take me rock climbing, you know? And so we went up and climbed this thing called the Tower in the Gallatin Canyon. Has anybody ever climbed in Bozeman, Montana? In the Gallatin Canyon specifically? It's fucking awesome, by the way. And we climbed this thing called the Tower, which has this beautiful like 3-pitch 5/8 up it. But we climbed the back part, like the down climb, like this 5-5 rampy sort of thing, which makes sense and is totally logical because it was the first time that I went rock climbing. So this guy was just trying to get me up this thing, and it was amazing, right? We got to the top of this thing. It was early in the morning because we had to get this back to school, and like the fog was settling in the Gallatin Canyon in this really amazing and beautiful way. And then we went down, and then we got in this car, and we went back to school, which was cool. And I was like, I'm totally into this rock climbing shit. So I went climbing with him again, and this time we did like the front side of the tower, like a 5/8, and then I went climbing with him again, and we did another 5/8, and then I went climbing with him again, and we did another 5/8 plus, and I was like, this is fucking cool, but man, this is fucking boring. Like, why are we climbing all the same stuff all the time, And as a quick disclaimer, I want to throw it out there that this has nothing to do with like grades or whatever, and I think everybody's kind of journey into rock climbing is different, but I was fucking bored climbing 5/8, right? So there was this other guy in my architecture school that I knew was also a rock climber, but he didn't tell me that he was a rock climber. I just kind of knew that he was. I think maybe mutual friends or something, And I was like, wow, I'm so bored climbing with these other people that I should ask this guy if he wants to rock climb with me, right? Because that's what you do when you're like a new rock climber. Like, hey, will you go rock climbing with me? That would be super cool. You could show me some stuff. And so I was sitting there, and we were in a class in the morning, and then we had a class in the afternoon. And there was like a 2-hour window between the two classes. And so as we were like leaving the class, I saw it as my opportunity to kind of approach this particular character and be like, hey man, like I've been really getting into rock climbing recently, and can I go rock climbing with you? And so I built up the courage to do that, and I asked him, I said, hey man, like I've been getting into rock climbing, like would you mind going rock climbing with me? And he said yeah. And he looked at me with these like really kind of crazy eyes, and he's like, you want to go right now? And I was like, I was like, well, I mean, we got class in a couple hours, you know. And, but I didn't say that. I just thought that because I respected this guy and I wanted to go rock climbing with him. So I said, sure. And we got into his like super ratty old Toyota 4Runner, and we drove up to the Gallatin Canyon. And we actually, funny enough, went with this other guy that had been taking me rock climbing. You know, the guy that only wanted to climb 5/8. Once again, the grade doesn't matter. I totally am all about that. But so on the ride up there, it was like, well, we're going to climb this thing called the Waltz, which is 5/6. And I was like, oh, shit, man, we're totally climbing this same stuff again. And we get up there, and we're kind of roping up, and this other guy was like, he's like, you know, it would be way faster if we just climbed without a rope. And I was like, whoa, that's some heavy shit, man. But I was like, well, okay, cool. Like, we can do that. Everybody else seemed to be comfortable with it. So we ran up this little 3-pitch 5/6 thing, and it was totally liberating, and it was awesome. And then I realized the only reason we were up there is because this other guy, which his name is Justin, so I'll just throw it up there. And he had a project. And I'd never seen somebody projecting something before, but he had a project. So the only reason why he drug both of us up there was because he wanted a belay on this thing. And I gave him a belay, and he didn't do it, and we went back down. And he called me like a couple hours later after our class, and he's like, hey, dude. He's like, I got something that you might like. And in my mind, I was like, what the fuck could he possibly have? And I was like mid-20s, so I was like, oh, maybe he's got some mushrooms or something that he wants to like sell me or something, you know? Like we talked about like doing, you know, that sort of stuff. And so he's like, come over to my house. And I was like, oh, well, all right. So I went over to this guy's house, and he actually had a rack that somebody had like left at his house. You know, like you know, you guys all know what a rack. Who doesn't know what a rack is?
Latin for climbing gear, right?
Latin for climbing gear. Yeah. So he gave me this thing because I think that he saw that I was excited about rock climbing, like really excited about rock climbing, and I didn't have the necessary gear to do it, right? So he gave me this, you know, this rack of climbing gear, and I started climbing with him, and it was exactly what I was looking for, and I mean that in the sense that it was totally cowboy, right? Like it was like I was like, man, it's like I know I've been climbing for like a month, but I really want to try a hard 5'10". And he put me on like the nastiest, most run out, sketchy shit that you could ever imagine putting a new climber on, and it was fucking terrifying. But I was just like, in my mind, I was like, well, I guess this is what normal rock climbers, like cool rock climbers do. So like I just climbed this like sketchy ass, crazy run out shit, and it was cool because like every time that we did this, I guess he saw a little more light in me, right? And I started to gain a reputation around, like, so in Bozeman, Montana, basically like almost everybody is the general climbing community. Like you climb like 512 trad, and that's like baseline, you know? So that, like, I kind of got this reputation around town of being this like new kid that was like, and I was like obviously way younger at the time, you know? But like this new kid that was like willing to just throw myself at stuff. Which retrospectively was probably super sketchy and not like a great way to approach stuff. But I also, you know, climbed a lot of really cool rock climbs, like the first year that I was rock climbing. And I also started doing some first ascents in the Beartooth Mountains with Justin, and I climbed El Cap with Justin, and it was cool because like he, anything that I wanted to do, he was just like, you could totally do that, and I'll take you there, you know? And that was fucking amazing. I remember when we climbed El Cap, we had this perfect weather window, and I'd never jugged a rope before, which if anybody's climbed El Cap before, that's pretty fucking important. But we had this great weather window, and it was a party of 3, and the other person was like, Matt doesn't even know how to jug a rope, and Justin was like, he'll figure it out. And I did, and we climbed it, and it was fucking awesome, you know? And then I moved to Portland, and I moved to Portland, and I was super stoked on climbing, and I just kept climbing stuff. Okay, I can do it in 2 minutes, I hope. But I, sorry, it's all right. and I was really excited about it. And I started to notice after about 2 or 3 years of doing a lot of climbing in Portland that I wasn't as excited about climbing as I originally was. Like the luster kind of fell off a little bit. I was actually I was at Trout Creek one night and it was hot, like this time of year, and I was with 2 dudes, and my wife Ellie over there was in town doing the naked bike ride, and I was sitting there at Hot Trout Creek on a Saturday evening, and I was like, this is fucking so dumb that I'm here, and there's so much other cool stuff going on, you know? So anyway, I made it back to Bozeman around this time where I'd like kind of stepped away from rock climbing, and I had a couple beers with Justin, and he was like, you want to go climbing tomorrow? And I was like, not really, I'm going fishing or whatever, you know? So we didn't go climbing. And then, like 2 years ago, my friend Justin died climbing in Nepal. So I never got to climb with him again. You know, it's funny because like this is the story that I wanted to tell, because this guy was like obviously like a huge influence on not only my rock climbing, but kind of like my life in general, you know, because I think that rock climbing has a lot of life lessons. And I was trying to think about like what the message was going to be that I was going to deliver here tonight, and I haven't figured it out yet. So yeah, I think I got some stuff like written down or something. So I was going to say, risk is okay. Don't waste your time, blah, blah, blah. Just climb more, which doesn't justify what I want to say. I was going to say, well, there's more people climbing, access to digital information. There's less mentors than, you know, we have climbers. There's people that dabble into a lot of different sorts of things. So I dabble into lots of sorts of things. So there's a lot of people that are kind of passing through climbing, but I didn't see value in that either. And then I was just like, well, I don't know, just collect baseball cards, do whatever makes you happy. Get after it, yeah. Yeah. My favorite piece, that's a great question. My favorite piece of beer is a Tall Boy of PBR, because I sent way more fucking routes after I drank a Tall Boy of PBR than I have without drinking a Tall Boy of PBR. So yeah, that's my favorite piece of gear. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
It's way too tall for me. I just want to let you guys know there's pizza.